From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazende. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell notification button. You get an update every time we upload a new podcast.
Yeah, man. And that's not a fun laughter. That's just a
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to feel about this. Obviously, the Saints played last night. The Saints did not win last night. The Saints are now 3-4 on the season after a 31-24 loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars here in the Superdome. Sean, what is the state of the Saints as it stands right now at the record of 3-4?
All right, so bear with me here. It's going to be a lot to unpack here, so feel free to interject whenever you feel me, I won't say rambling, but going. Okay. All right. You've had 12 hours or so, I don't know how long, to process what we witnessed last night in Jacksonville, and I was giving it till this game to truly have a concrete feeling on the projection for this season based off of where they would be after this game. Pick a cliche. Close but no cigar, day late, dollar short. This is as currently constructed, this is a 500 team until proven otherwise. This is a 500 team until proven otherwise. This Saints team, as currently constructed, will do enough and win enough to stay relevant. The division will help them. They will be relevant, but in the end, they will be I guess you can't be at 500 anymore, but right around 500 maybe. 9 wins or 8 wins. As it's currently constructed, the current path that it's on, that is a trajectory, and that's where this team is headed. And you know what? It really sucks that that is where the expectation has dropped to yet again. Last night settled it for me, where it's really hard to process exactly what we saw. It was like, I said it in my blog last night, it was like a 3-act play, opened with a tragedy because that was a freaking disaster to start the game.
Mm-hmm.
Some of their worst stretch of ball that we've seen all season. Then, Act 2, it's like the miraculous comeback happens, and all of a sudden everything flips, and all of a sudden the Dome, there's energy, and all of a sudden you got the ball, and you have a chance, and you tied the score up, and you got the ball in the fourth quarter twice. Then Act 3.
Another tragedy.
The heartbreaking finish. The other tragedy. The way it was supposed to end. It sucks. You had a chance. But come on. That was the ending the Saints truly deserved. That was the ending the Saints truly deserved. Once again, the team that coached the best, the team that played the best, outplayed them and got the win. That is just the facts of the situation. And it ended with what? A red zone, a ball at the inside the red zone with a chance to win, and you could not come up with it. It's been the story of the season.
Yep.
Close but no cigar, day late, dollar short. I think last night was probably proof of that more than anything.
Bro.
Despite the most misleading box score I think I have ever seen.
Yeah.
31 more plays, almost 13 minutes more in time of possession.
12-20 to be exact.
12-20, there you go. Won the turnover battle, had less penalties, outgained them, and still lost. And forget winning for a second. For the second straight week, they didn't lead at any point in the game.
Nope.
Jaguars were in complete control of that game. Saints gave them some thrills at the end, teased the fans a little bit, but in the end, they got the loss. And a loss that they deserved.
Look, we can talk about how the Saints came back in the second half and made it a game, made it a little bit more exciting. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that stood out most to me was in that first half when Christian Kirk fumbled the ball, Saints got it back and couldn't score, or scored only 3, excuse me. And then they punted the ball, got it back after the ball hit the gunner. I have no idea.
You wasted those opportunities.
You have 3 points off of 2 turnovers early in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you wasted opportunities. And look, the fan frustration was so prevalent last night. I mean, it was out of the gate. It was out of the gate last night. And look, I think it's a two-part frustration. In the moment, they're frustrated with the way the season is going, the way this current team is kind of settled back into this mediocre sort of existence that they can't seem to get out of this rut. But I think it's even deeper than that. And maybe they don't even realize this, but I think internally there's a frustration within this fan base, big picture, that the good old days are over. The good old days are over. And it was kind of fitting, right? Drew Brees was in the building. Lance Moore was in the building. Scott Shanley was in the building. Those 3 guys have rings. And it's almost like
the primetime lights were on.
It's like there was a point in time where this place was rocking and in the prime time. And it's just, it has dwindled down into this kind of post-glory year funk of mediocrity, if you will, of average football. And that's where the fan frustration is present day, but also big picture, because honestly, that's the hurt. The best is over. The best is over.
And I think we kind of knew that already. I think a lot of fans knew that already. But I think what magnifies the feeling is the fact that it was nationally televised last night, and
Absolutely.
So now everybody knows it.
And everybody knows it, and you're in a situation where you start off good, 2-0, then you lose 2, then you win 1, then you lose 2 more. You've lost 4 out of 5 now. And like I said, there's an underlying, like, just angst in the fan base, because if they're being honest, they were never completely sold on the head coach. I think it's probably split on the quarterback, although I don't know where that ranks after last night. We'll get to him in a second.
Yeah.
And then now they've obviously honed in on Pete Carmichael. The bottom line is pick an area the last 2 weeks, and they've all come up short. They've all come up short, and it's added, and it's all kind of compiled into this sort of, like I said before, this sporadic existence of just good play, bad play, can you make the play? Can you take advantage? Missed opportunity, no opportunity, anemic play. It's just it's this mosh pit of just sort of I don't even know what the adjective to describe it, but it's just led to so much frustration, and it's a shame. It really is a shame, because there was genuine excitement for this team going into the season, and there was genuine excitement for this organization. So what can the Saints do? Okay, because we don't just pile on here. We do try our best to say, okay, what can be done? I've already told you, as currently constructed, this team is on the path to average, path to 500.
Yep.
Minor relevancy. Maybe they sneak in and win the division. Who knows? Who really cares at this point, as currently constructed? So then what do? As an organization, you have to make the fundamental decision. Are they going to go down this path and piddle in this mediocre state, or are you going to make some kind of change to jolt this thing? What form of change could it be? I know the obvious thing is to go after the offensive play caller. Still very much on the table, in my opinion, because you've got this many bye. You've got to reevaluate. And obviously there's enough there to at least just give you some kind of different approach to maybe get this offense out of its funk. What else could happen? Could there be a demotion? Could there be you've already replaced one starter up front on the offensive line. Could there be another one coming? Or, and this is what I'm really starting to get at more, if you really and truly believe you have a team that can win, and you don't want to punt on the season, or you don't want to just exist, and you don't want to win, I think you got to make a trade. Make a trade for a playmaker. There's chatter out there about Hunter Renfrow. He's got connection to Derek Carr. They could certainly use a guy that's on the same page with Derek Carr.
I mean, we thought that we had that guy in Foster Moreau.
I'll get to that in a second. But is there a tight end out there? I know Juwan Johnson's been hurt, but is there a playmaker at the tight end position? Is there Is there something on the defensive side of the ball to help? We'll get to that in a second later because we're going to get to how they've flown under the radar about how much they have they've aided into this funk here because everyone is kind of obviously looking at the offensive side of the football. So to me, this is the perfect opportunity to truly have thick skin, evaluate, bench you need to bench, fire you need to fire, go get who you need to get if you truly want to turn this thing around and make a run. Because I don't see how you could look at the first 7 games of the season if you're the Saints and say, if we just keep going down this path, it's going to turn around for us. To me, that's false hope. That's just more of that's just the mentality of not trying to win. That's just hoping to win.
That's not competitive mentality.
It's exactly what I'm saying. So that's where ultimately I think this thing lands for the Saints.
All right, so
it has to land. I should say.
The Saints offense, we saw, and we kind of alluded to it, did not play their best ball in the first half. They showed signs of life in the second half. What do we make of Derek Carr and the Saints offense?
Okay, so we've now had 7 games of data, 7 games of watching him in and out with this offense. First things first, there's something missing with this offense. There is something missing with this offense based off the talent they have, how it just cannot come together. First thing first with Derek Carr. Dude, you got to chill out. You got to chill out. The sideline eruptions are getting uncomfortable.
I've never seen him get this ticked off.
Yeah, I mean, look, I watched Derek Carr. I guess I didn't see a whole lot of games. I don't know if he's always been like this, a little bit of a maniac on the sideline. You got to chill out, man. Like, I think he's had more sideline blowups than Drew had in 15 years here. Like, you got to chill out. I think he even kind of admitted that after the game. I got to chill. My emotions getting the best of me. Yeah, because it's going to turn off your teammates at some point. Yeah. And it's just, and you know, they're not going to battle for you if you're constantly on them. And frankly, last night, a lot of that was you. A lot of that was Derek Carr. I mean, he was inaccurate. He was hesitant. He was jumpy. He was he missed 3 or 4 like big plays, like the Shaheed touchdown he missed. Then he missed him again when he missed him initially, and then he threw it high to him. There was a big play to Olave he missed. There was another play that he had missed as well, where I'm just like, you can't, another Shaheed play. You cannot miss throws. So he hasn't been consistent enough. Yeah. And last night, after the pick 6, like, if they would have pulled him, it would have been, that would have been warranted at that point. But, this is a big but. In saying that, he flipped the switch last night. And he looked like a totally different quarterback. And they went no huddle. There was less thinking. It was probably a little more of like instinct. You do this, you do that, you do this. It would be stupid and dumb to not incorporate whatever that was, elements of whatever that was, into every single game plan from here on out, because that was the best stretch he's had as a Saint.
Yep.
That was the best stretch he's had as a Saint. He had 7 straight passes after the pick 6, the touchdown drive where Taysom scored. He went right downfield in 3 plays to Michael Thomas, an absolute dime and a fantastic catch by Michael Thomas in the end zone. Then he completed, I think it was the first 6 balls on the drive that got him to the 6-yard line, but then when they got to the inside the 10, 4 straight incompletions inside the 10-yard line, including one that frankly should have been the game, at least tying score by Foster Moreau. So that's where I'm at with Derek Carr. Look, through 7 games, he has not lived up to the contract.
No.
But here's the thing. If you're the Saints, you're stuck with him. So you've got to figure out a way to make this work. You have to. And I know there's some people out there that are calling for him to be benched, like permanently. I'm just going to tell you, my own read on the situation is they would move on from a play caller before they moved on from a quarterback, especially in the first year, especially after what they've invested in him now. If this happens again, say, next year, then obviously the game has certainly changed. But that's where they're at. And with Derek Carr, they've invested too much. They need it to work out. They need it to work out. He's got to evaluate himself. I don't know. I know there was the blow up with Olave. And look, he's had his moments of bad body language. I know you're probably going to jump in here in a second. But I don't know if he runs that route out, that the play is
ball
any
was out of
different.
bounds.
The play is any different. Now I know he's had some body language issues at times, but I'm not. And I think the last couple of games before last night, I think there was a little more warranted. But I'm not going to jump all over Olave for this one. I know some fans have seen it. It's true, he has, but and he certainly needs to do better because I know the throw was a little behind him to start that final drive, or the drive before the final drive where they had to punt it back, and the one where Carr got a little banged up in a certain area.
Yep.
DA said. So he has concentration lapses, there's no doubt about it. But he had 15 targets last night. 15 different targets. But my point is, like, how is that not vibing? The Derek Carr and your top young receiver, how is that not vibing through 7 games? And then
there's a disconnect, I think, personality-wise.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder that if there's a generational gap, if there's a personality clash. Whatever the case may be. So, bottom line, offensively, pick an area. Coordinator, quarterback, receivers, offensive line, run game. They've all aided in this inconsistent kind of a mess, despite the last quarter and a half of ball. But I'm very curious how they process how Derek Carr finished that game and how they can incorporate that going forward, because I don't know about you, Sil, but like that's what I want to see. I want to see a guy that's just being aggressive, throwing caution to the wind, and just letting it rip. And because it feels like to me when he gets like that, more often than not, he's making plays. He's making big time connections, and he looks so much more confident as opposed to this sort of hesitant, not trusting what he's seeing, sort of mess that we've seen throughout the first couple weeks of the season.
And that's a problem too with the Saints, is that when they finally get momentum, it doesn't seem to carry over into the next week. We saw what happened last week or a couple weeks ago when they beat the Patriots. Yeah, they weren't able to carry that momentum over, and they started to gain some last night in the second half, but I don't know if it's going to work again. But the communication between Carr and Olave, I'm shocked about it, because like the spirits were so high.
Yeah, in the first couple of games, they were so good together.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just like energy was up. They weren't the highest scoring team, but like you felt like there was something there that was really close to clicking, right? And then, I mean, Olave doesn't finish the route. That's a problem in and of itself. But Carr yelling at him, even though that ball was uncatchable. The DB couldn't even make a play on it, and he was like 10 yards ahead of Olave on that route.
And I'm not sure, like, even if he runs that route out, like that's a bad throw into that coverage anyway, at least from what I was able to see right off the bat. I had to talk with Deuce about it to see if that's actually how that play should have played itself out, because he does a really good job of seeing like what could have happened from an adjustment standpoint, from a check standpoint. But there were some other things too, like, for instance, like, did you notice this? There were 3 or 4 times last night where playmaker has the ball in his hands out in the open field, and there's daylight in one direction, and they run in another direction.
Yes.
I saw it with Alvin on the screen pass early after the muff punt, because if he reads his blocks, he's scoring. It mattered. It was one with Taysom Hill. There was one with Michael Thomas.
Yep.
I mean, the 3 most consistent guys, I think, on offense so far.
Ball carrier vision was just awful.
It just made no sense. I mean, we were in the press box like, why didn't he just go that way? And it wasn't one of those situations where like you had to have X-ray vision to see this. I mean, it was pretty obvious in the line of view of what you could see. It just fits in with this whole disjointed sort of just not there yet. They're good. They individually, but the cohesion that takes place normally by now just hasn't come together. And the question is, will it? Can it? And how's it going to look if it does? I have no idea, and no one knows, because we haven't seen it yet. I think people are still kind of waiting. You got a little bit of it in the first game because we potted about it.
How long do you wait, though?
That's what I'm saying. They're still waiting for Derek Carr to have that moment.
Yeah.
He almost had it last night. If he would have rallied and they would have came back and won, I think he would have galvanized, and I think the Saints fan base would have rallied behind him. But other than that week 1 game where he kind of threw the shot to Shaheed, and I remember we even potted about how much the Saints seemed to rally around the quarterback. Haven't really had it since then. So offensively, you you can't keep banging your head against a brick wall. You've got to make some kind of adjustment here other than benching Trevor Penning. By the way, the offensive line played pretty well last night. So
Josh Allen did have his fair share of pressures on Carr, though.
He did, and that was certainly an issue, and he felt it. But this is another thing. As jumpy or as hesitant as it felt like Derek Carr was in the first 2.5 quarters, the second they went no huddle, it's like he didn't care about the pass rush anymore. And look how much better he played.
He's better when he doesn't have to think.
It's almost like, and if you're a coaching staff, you have to recognize that. And because, like I said before, the fundamental theme of this is, what do you want to do, Saints? Do you want to go down this path status quo and probably finish 8-9 or 9-8, or do you want to make an adjustment so you can really win?
You played football, Sean. What's the one thing your coach has told you? It's all about instinct. That's not it. When you start thinking, that's when you screw yourself a little bit.
It's really in any sport. I mean, when you start overthinking it, and doesn't it look like what's happening for everyone on that field?
Yep.
It's like the way the information is slowing them down. Then I look across the sideline with a quarterback who was quote unquote injured, and look, it just in way less plays, way more efficient, easy completions.
Yep.
And he just looks so much more comfortable.
20 of 29, I think. Lawrence
he just looks so much more comfortable. And he made and look, when they made the run inside that building and the place got rolling, he made the throw he needed to make, and they made the play they needed to make to get into the end zone and provide the winning points in that game. They deserve to win. Jacksonville deserved to win that game. And look, I look for that team to make a run in the AFC. I really do.
Yeah, they're a good team. And we got
quite a few questions.
As is customary with the Saints loss, we got quite a few again. So let's go to those. The first one we got is from Ricky and Metairie. Last week, Deuce said the Saints have an elite defense. How could he say that when the defense has proven week to week that they are not elite?
Fantastic question, because these guys have been getting a pass. Where have you gone, Saints pass rush? Where have you gone? Non-existent last night. Did you see Baldy break down the...
I didn't see it, no.
They didn't come near Trevor Lawrence. Right now, the best player up front was the undrafted guy that has battled his way up into the rotation in Carl Granderson, who's become a very dependable guy. No one else is doing anything.
Yeah.
No one else is doing anything.
The only time I saw Trevor Lawrence bounce out of the pocket, it looked like he rolled out to his left and ran for a few yards. It looked like there was no pressure in the pocket, but I think it's just internal clock was going off.
Yeah, so I don't even think he had an official quarterback hurry, whatever criteria you use. And look, let me make one more point on this, because you know the formula, right? Great to elite defense. You need to be efficient on offense if you're not explosive, and you need to have good special teams. Well, they've come up short in each area.
Yep.
They have not been elite or great. They've been... what would you average it out last night? Because they opened, it was like they only had 1 third down that opening drive. They moved right down, and then the final drive they scored with ease as well. I guess they were good. I don't know. They did create some takeaways, and the Marshawn Lattimore overturned pick certainly hurt, but they fell short.
Average.
They fell short in the formula. Special teams, missed field goal by Blake Grupe, hurt.
That
plus
was
50.
Bad.
But the Lou Headley punt that set up the final touchdown for Jacksonville was a 39-yard punt in crunch time. I don't know how that guy is still around.
I would have kept Gillikin at this point.
I don't know how he's still around right now. And then offensively, they were sporadic instead of efficient. They were up, down, up, down, up, down. Finished up, but closed, but couldn't close the door when they had certainly had the opportunity to do so. So the formula of success is pretty clear, and they've fallen short in all 3 categories in each of the last 2 weeks. So the defense has gotten a pass because of the overall look of the offense. But make no mistake about it, they're not playing up to their capabilities as well. Good question.
All right, next question comes from Josh and Gentili. Where has Jimmy Graham been? Wasn't he supposed to be used in the red zone? Is he okay? And I got a couple texts last night saying, why wasn't Jimmy Graham out there instead of Foster Moreau?
Yeah, I mean, look, Foster looked like he didn't think the ball was coming to him. I know he's not the first read on that play, but he's wide open.
Yeah.
And then something with the way he kind of did a mini jump and the way he had his hands, it just felt a little bit awkward. And I know it's killing him. You know, he's been through a lot. It's his hometown team. He had a chance to win it. He couldn't come through. He was not the reason why they lost, but that was the that was the fitting ending to that game.
Yeah.
Again, close but no cigar. Day late, dollar short. Close is horseshoes and hand grenades, right? And that, and that expression goes. That's all. That's all it really counts. But my thought on Jimmy Graham is simply this: look, if the Saints don't believe he's still the guy he once was, and he clearly is not, let's move on. Because last night there were multiple instances where a guy that size, a guy with that kind of ball skills, to me, inside the 10 is not inside the 20, but inside the 10 would probably be where he would be most effective. They have several plays inside the 10. He was nowhere to be found. So if you're not going to utilize him, to me, I would just figure out a way to just move on from that, because I don't see the point of why he's on the roster then.
Looking more and more like a PR stunt every day.
Yeah.
But all right, this next question from Quenzel from Angie. With all the talent and inconsistencies on offense, is it time to push the panic button? It should not be this hard to score touchdowns.
I've said it week in and week out. Look, panic, you'll never hear them say panic, but I think everyone around understands the situation. I've already said you've got to make, in my opinion, if you want any sort of change to what you've shown, you've got to make some sort of substantial change offensively. If it's not play calling wise, and it's not personnel wise in terms of, demotion, starter, new starter, it's got to be an addition from the outside in. It's got to be a trade. It's got to be something like that, because you need some kind of infusion of something, whether it's addition by subtraction, a tweak at the top, or a infusion of talent from somewhere else. Look, here's the other thing. We've already hinted at this. I told you guys, unless it gets really bad, I just don't believe they're going to bench Derek Carr, and I don't necessarily think he's deserving of being benched. I still think
not at this juncture.
I still think he gives you the best chance to win. He just hasn't quite lived up to what everyone thought he would be the first 7 games. That's just reality.
And we talked about it last pod too. Like at 3-3 was the time to write off the Saints. Is the Saints 2023 season over? I mean, I still don't think this season is over. This team is still going to fight.
Exactly. I'm not writing them off.
No, I'm not either.
But I am saying if you go down this path, you're gonna stay in this middle tier. Like I said, 8 wins or 9 wins. It's going to be kind of that, middle of the pack,
drafting at
mediocre, 20. Like just that 500. That's where you're headed. If that is indeed the case on the season, if you don't make some kind of tangible move at some point, hopefully soon.
All right, Sean, as we take this thing home, any final thoughts on this Saints loss Friday?
Enjoy your weekend, Saints fans. Go watch LSU, Tulane.
Watch some winning football.
Watch the NFL games on Sunday. Enjoy yourself. Don't let it kill this beautiful weekend. Should be good weather in the city, wherever you're watching this podcast. And next week, another week happens. And look, the thing about an inconsistent team is at some point, it can pop and they can win. It wouldn't shock me at all if next week they play better against Indianapolis.
Gardner Minshew next week.
We'll worry about that next week. So have a great weekend, everyone.
All right, everybody. For Sean Fazende, I'm Vasilios. We'll catch you guys next time.